Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Banyan Gold, chatting with Tara Christie. Tara is the president and CEO of Banyan. Company is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol BYN and the OTCQB under the symbol BYAGF. Now, Tara, I want to discuss a recent news release that came out July 24th that outlines how the company is accelerating your 100% earn-in on the AurMac project. We've talked so much about the growing resource and potential of putting out economics. But this news release, where you are now entering agreement with PricewaterhouseCoopers that has been appointed to take over those Victoria Gold assets. Victoria Gold held a portion of this project as well as a royalty. There's a lot within this transaction, but overall, what I take away is it seems like you're paying less cash to acquire this 100% interest, and there'll be less of a royalty. So, can you explain what's going on with this deal, some of the moving parts, please?
Yeah, Corey, it was a fairly complicated deal, of course. When we had a corporate that had this interest, and any corporate, there was a lot of things that were value adds because you had a corporate that had your shares, you had a corporate that was going to hold your royalty, and you had a corporate that had some other rights. So, really, this agreement is really good for us because it completely severs us from that interest, and which is, we've been trying to position Banyan as a standalone project. So, yes, we're going to pay less cash for our 100%. We've removed any financing rights. We've removed a lot of the potential corporate and other legal costs that we might have to in future to clean up some of the stuff, which is really important. We've reduced the royalty buy down. We've eliminated a couple royalties. So all in all, it's a really good for Banyan. It simplifies things significantly and gives us a lot of clarity. And I think, we've had people concerned about the overhang from what happened down the road. And I think, it's a year after the report's out, people know what happened, and we're entering into a mine sale process as well. So we know now that anybody that's interested in purchasing that asset is going to be driving right across our property. And we know that we've got all of this other stuff cleared up. So that makes it, I think, a far more attractive investment opportunity for funds or for other corporates to look at.
So, Tara, when do you expect this to all be finalized then?
Well, we're hoping by the end of the month. The August 25th is our target date. There's a few things that have to happen in between, which, the lawyers are working very hard to get done. And that leaves us in a really good place. The other thing that changes is, of course, is we no longer have that requirement to complete a PEA. And, that goes away when this deal closes, so end of the month. And that'll give us optionality on what drilling we can include in our PEA. And of course, we've already started that work. It's all very useful, the work that we're doing, and it's being used to guide our drill program this year, really focused on improving the economics, drilling off that high grade, adding lots of value, because once you know where your mine pits are and where you can optimize your drilling, plus we've got the benefit of our new geological model and these new understanding of where these high grade zones are, all of that even improved our targeting of our drilling even more. So, you know, I I'm leaning towards thinking that including all this drilling from this year in a PEA would be in the best interest of all of our shareholders. But until the deal closes, of course, we won't announce any changes. Right now, we're still on track for a PEA in the fourth quarter.
Now, why would you change the date on that? If you do have everything in order to do a PEA right now, why do you think delaying it or adding in some other information could materially change what would come out of that report?
Well, if you saw the drill results that we put out last week with some very significant high grade, and we know that we're drilling off that high grade dike material. Remember the 16 meters of 9 grams, 40 meters of 4 grams, all within, 80 meters, 65 meters of surface. That we're drilling that off, over about a 500-meter section. That could be a very significant starter pit area. And really, a lot of your economics is often driven by what are the grades of your starter pit area, and that gives you what your payback is. So if we think we can meaningfully change those economics, I think it would be something to think about, because people get your first PEA is something that stays in people's mind, and that's a number that it's really hard to change. So if you have the opportunity and you know that you're going to be able to meaningfully change it for not a whole lot of time, and certainly with the work we've done, it's not a whole lot of cost to, add in some additional drill results if you think they're actually meaningful.
So, Tara, before we get into potential acquirers or partners on this project, since you are reducing some of the royalty obligations, or at least the payments you need to make to reduce those, and overall payments, it looks like, does this open up other financing windows for you as well, with maybe other royalties or any other options that you would have available to you as you advance this asset?
Well, I think it certainly makes us a more desirable asset. I'm not in any rush to be selling royalties, and we've got a really solid financial position right now. So we are not under pressure, even with having to pay this money to the receiver, and we have the option to pay it in cash or shares. And the share payment will be well into the fall before we have to do that, or cash if we want. That gives us lots of optionality. And that's one thing that we've done very well is manage our treasury. We had that financing this spring, which gave us, $24 million, which now we're still very strong with around $17 million in the bank. So that leaves us with lots of options and in a position where we can make these payments and still have lots of money for drilling and money to get us into 2026.
Can you just reiterate how much you will need to pay to the receiver then for all those who don't want to dive into the news release for it?
So the cash payment is $2 million on closing, and then we pay a further $1.6 million in cash or shares at our election within 75 days.
So then on to the potential partner or acquirer front. Look, I know summer's busy. You're drilling. There's also a lot of site visits that go along. And now that you have this 100%, you have said that this makes it a more attractive asset. So do you package it up now, or is there still a lot to be done? You just want parties interested in what you're doing?
I think it's really important you have parties interested. We're not for sale right now at these share prices. And you're right, there are a lot of site tours. I've already been up to site several times for site tours. We've got another site tour this week, and then we've got a couple more at the end of August and one in September. So, it's a really busy time for drilling and field work, but also for people to come and see our project. And it shows so well. You look at our project, it's a nice flat topography. It has roads, it has hydropower already on it. People's cell phone works. We land at a public airport and then we get in a bus and we drive half an hour down the road. So we've already got that existing road access, and the mineralization starts right on surface. And of course, we got that core from those recent high grade drill results we just put out. And we had a few people out, and you probably heard some of them talking in the media about seeing that high grade and how they think that the high grade is underrepresented in our deposit. And our new resource that we talked about in our last interview, that really shows that within it, the 0.5 cutoff, there's that 4.55 million ounces of a gram. So there is a high grade core within this. And I think what we're doing with the drilling and what people are seeing is that there's the potential for that to even have more high grade and importantly, high grade that hangs together in areas that you can have as starter pits and pits.
All right, Ted, thanks for taking us through this development for the company. When it comes to future news, what should we be watching out for?
Well, look for more drill results. We're already at 100 holes over 20,000 meters of our 30,000 meter program planned, and we'll be drilling through October, which will give us drill results into the new year. You'll see this deal close probably end of the month. And then, we'll have lots to talk about as we come through the fall and people start to see more drill results from us.
All right, Tara, thank you very much for this update. Again, Tara Christie, President and CEO of Banyan Gold. Click the link in the show notes if you want to read over that recent news release and continue to email me any questions you have for Tara for when I bring her back on the show. Tara, thank you very much for the update today.
Thanks, Corey.